Reinder Wolthuis and Frank Fransen. Welcome to the podcast.
Hi, Robby.
Why don't you say your names the proper way so we can start out in the best manner possible?
Yeah, my name is Reinder Wolthuis from the Netherlands, working for TNO. So I'm the leader of the Socrates project, which we'll be discussing today. And I also in the Netherlands initiated and lead a large collaboration program on cybersecurity innovation, in which we collaborate with the Dutch financials, some banks. It already runs since 2014. I was recently also appointed in the INISA ad hoc working group on SOC research, and I also do some work in the telecom sector. We have an annual security benchmark already running since 2009, where we benchmark big European telecom providers. So that's more or less my current interests.
How many hours do you have in a day? Busy man.
Well, limited, unfortunately.
Yeah. Frank, what about you, sir?
Yes, so my name is Frank Fransen. I worked for TNO also as a senior scientist in cybersecurity and robustness department. I have a career over 25 years now in information security or cybersecurity nowadays. But over the last couple of years, I'm more involved in security operations, where I'm the technical coordinator for that project.
Cool.
And my role within TNO is more on the scientific side, so I will collaborate with universities and work more on leading and coordinating and acquisition of European research projects.
Cool. So I have some researchers and some developers and some innovators today. That's great.
Yeah.
They got the perfect group. I want to talk to you guys about that today. TNO. Why don't you give us a brief introduction to TNO and some of the cool stuff you're doing there?
Yeah, TNO is a Dutch research and consultancy organization. So it's an independent, not-for-profit, what we always say, also not for loss. So we are not cheap. TNO is quite large. We have 3,500 people working for TNO. We have 9 units, which cover different areas. For example, health, defense and safety, energy. And Frank and me are in a unit called ICT. And there we are in a department called cybersecurity and robustness. So there we innovate on cybersecurity. And yeah, we really do cool stuff because TNO is what we always say, a bridge between the really academics and the business world. So we are doing applied research. So we're trying to take really academic ideas and make them such that they can be applied by companies.
Cool. So a lot of engineers, a lot of project managers, but subject matter experts. Is anybody wearing like a white lab coat doing anything?
Yeah, we also have lab coats.
Really?
Not in our unit specifically. In one of our buildings, there's half a jet, so a fighter jet.
Oh shit!
So to look at how pilots are behaving in such a fighter jet, how we can improve.
Yeah.
We also look at the how bullets come out of weapons and that kind of stuff. So we do a lot of different things at TNO. Yeah.
Cool. You guys like your job then? You like your employer?
It's a really nice environment at TNO. So a lot of equally minded people, a lot of nerds. So it's a really good environment to work in, I think.
Yeah. Well, mnemonic and TNO have a lot in common, it sounds like. Less bullet testing and stuff like that, but yeah. But Socrates, super cool project. How'd that start? Where did the idea come from?
The idea came from about 2015, I guess, that it started. We were running, or the coordinators of another European project called SOCCRATES, was about smart grid security. And KTH, Matthias Ekstedt, professor there, was also involved, and they had a tool called Sysmol, which is now a product security cut from Forseti. But that product is actually a tool where you can model or draw your design of your infrastructure. Yeah, you put some servers down and some applications and your network configuration, your routers, switches here, etc. And you draw this in a tool, and then you push the button, and then the tool calculates from an attacker that you placed in somewhere on the network, maybe on the internet on the outside, and it calculates an attack path to some of the assets. So and then you can also add defenses. So you put a two-factor authentication here and some other security measures there. And then you can come up with the best strong design. And the analogy is maybe that a designer of a bridge will also try to first do all kinds of analysis of how strong the bridge has to be, what kind of steel and concrete you have to use, and how thick the concrete must be to make sure that the bridge will not drop down. But yeah, that's for the design stage. And TNO during that time was also very active in helping organizations set up security operations centers, started with threat intel sharing, giving advice on these companies too about how to do that and what capabilities you have to implement within your organization to handle cyber threat intel. And we thought that, hey, this is nice, but because what you see in the security operations centers is that you get an alert and then it's a human that has to understand this alert and associate what this actually means within the context of your infrastructure. And the same for vulnerability. So this host is vulnerable, but then you can ask yourself, what does that mean? Do we have to run now and patch it immediately? Or where in the infrastructure is it? And how can an attacker exploit it? What is the exposure from the attacker on the internet for that particular vulnerability within your organization? And then we realized that, hey, that might be that we can use these kind of techniques for that. So the idea came from how can we then use those attack defense graph tools in operational setting in a security operations center.
Cool.
And there was the idea. And then we started looking for, how can we work on this a bit more? Because we at TNO, we did some projects on it, but there's always, you need to collaborate to actually get a bigger project started, and you identify all the components that need to be developed in order to actually build something like this, this capability. And for that, at one point, there was in Horizon 2020 a call that asked for detection and response systems, and that listed attack defense graphs, and that was the trigger for Matthias Ekstedt and Reinder and me to start building a consortium for this project, which was named now Socrates.
Cool. By the way, that name, where'd the name come from?
Frank came up with a name, so Frank.
So it was actually, and we traveled to Sweden to have a meeting with and there were many names suggested, but for a European project, it's always good to have a name that sticks and that you can remember and can say. And the other hand is that if it's a popular name, then it might be already have domain names associated, and other people will also have called their project like that. So at one point I came up with SOC and CCERT, and that means then Socrates with double C. Socrates is of course the famous philosopher, and then I had to only name the R and the A and the T and the E and the S, and that was a response to attacks and threats based on attack defense graph evaluation systems. And that was when we were in the bar. I started to think about this.
I knew it.
I finished it. I finished it later, and then and that was the name. And that's
some of the good things. Initiate in bars, but we also have in the project a few cigar lovers, including myself.
Nice.
I started it, I think. So we also have some philosophical discussions over cigars, preferably also with a beer with it. So
unfortunately, due to Corona,
it was a little bit restricted.
We don't have enough of these.
But hey, philosophers, a bar, a sock, a Caesar, what could go wrong? It's great. When did you guys go from the bar to actually like calling people and putting this together?
Yeah, when I saw the call text in the Horizon 2020 work program, I contacted Matthias, and then we started thinking about what partners do we need. The call was for an innovation action, which means that you have to do actual pilots. And Matthias contacted Vattenfall, and so Vattenfall, the big energy supplier and energy generator. So well known in Scandinavian countries, but also in the Netherlands. The Security Operations Center, which is located in Poland, which is for the IT environment, providing SOC services for the whole corporate environment. And we had some contacts with Telenor, and we had a meeting with Martin Ian from Mnemonic. That was also interesting because you have then a corporate SOC and you have a managed security service provider. So you have two types of environments where security SOC services are addressed, which is a bit different environments where you can do two pilots and say, well, we can apply Socrates in an MSSP setting where the services are provided to customers, or we do it in an internal security operations center.
Yeah, and then starting from that, and we are very glad having Mnemonic on board, and Martin is a very exciting guy also to have with us. He's one of the key players in Socrates. And starting from that, so we had KTH, Mnemonic, Vattenfall, and then, we wanted to build something to pilot, so we also need the system integrator. Now, we had also contacts with Atos in Spain, so we asked them also to join, and they were also very happy to join. And then we needed some additional expertise on detection capabilities, and we were in contact with AIT from Austria, which is comparable to TNOs, it's more a research institute. Okay. So they also joined. And then, in our platform, we also identified we need some business impact component. And therefore, we approached IMT, which is a French university. They are working on that area, so they also joined. And then we also said, well, we need a threat intel. And therefore, we had contacts with a Shadow Server, which is a very interesting company, actually located as a foundation in the Netherlands, but those guys working there are scattered all over the world, and they have very good contacts also with national cybersecurity centers, which they deliver their threat intel to. So that's the way we formed the consortium. So I think networking, knowing people in working in the same area is very important, and we are in the end very happy with the consortium. I always say we have a very strong consortium. And then, of course, someone needs to lead, and they were looking at us because we started, and so we acted as coordinator here.
Cool. Yeah. So it sounds like you just took a bunch of awesome, different organizations that do different things. You just took the best from each of them, and you put them all together to accomplish this, to accomplish your goal, I guess. That was the idea, and I think we succeeded quite well in that. So, like I said, I think we have a very good consortium, at the moment. But hey, so Frank talked a little about like the why you guys started this project and how it started and everything. But like, if you look at like what you're trying to accomplish with the project as a whole, aren't like all the traditional? I mean, have you guys seen that picture of all the security vendors? There's like thousands of them, and they're all doing different things. Isn't that enough? Aren't they enough? Like, why did you have to make something new? What were you trying to accomplish with this one?
Yeah, the idea behind Socrates, the starting point is that the attackers use more automation, while on the other hand, we see in the security operating centers, there's still a lot of activities done by hand, so manual tasks. And this is, you cannot defend against those complex attacks and attackers by doing things by hand. And you are right, there are already a lot of commercial tools available that also use automation, and the SOAR tools. But we think with Socrates, those are individual tools focusing on one aspect of the defense. And we in Socrates not only focus on security monitoring, but we try to automate the complete platform that we have. So in all aspects, like with the infrastructure modeling, the business modeling, and what we actually try to achieve at Socrates is that we create option awareness for the SOC analysts, and also situation awareness, so they are aware of what's happening. Then option awareness, so they are aware what kind of things they can do to defend themselves against a current attack, but also decision support, so we provide them with decision. And what we think is that the commercial tools do not have those capabilities yet. So we have defined 5 use cases in Socrates. And it's not only on detecting an incident, but also looking at if you change something in your infrastructure configuration, this could introduce new vulnerabilities. So the Socrates platform is capable, if there is a configuration change, that we in our infrastructure models then, like with attack defense graph, see does this change introduce new vulnerabilities which we have to manage, which you have to take away. And this is also like configuration change, or if you put new machines in your infrastructure, or if you have new threat intelligence. So we have one platform that does it all. It's not only incident monitoring and detection and mitigation, but it's also like looking ahead. So 4 of our 5 use cases really are concerned with those kind of things. Proactive, so to say.
Cool. So not just reactive, but also proactive.
Yeah, also proactive. Yeah.
Cool. And then Frank,
and to add on that, what I see as innovative is that the analysis part where we make a model of an infrastructure, and then we can model this in SecurityCut and analyze how an attacker could benefit from some new vulnerability or a new threat intel, or if it's an attack, where is the attacker and how can the attacker move laterally from the compromised asset to some critical assets in your infrastructure, or to identify from the compromised asset how was the attacker potentially being able to get in there, and then we can calculate these things with the attack defense graphs, and use these attack graphs to actually do more threat hunting, or to actually identify courses of action for preventing the attacker to move laterally to the most critical assets in your infrastructure. So we can use these tools to actually reason upon security events and come up with suggestions for how to mitigate an attack or a new security event. And the same is for business impact. We model what your business processes and business functions are. So for each system in your server, an application, we associate these with business functions and processes, etc. This is typically done with enterprise architecture. You have tools for that. But if you can use these models that you have and can ask such a tool from, hey, what happens if this asset is compromised, or when an attacker has read-write access to this asset? Well, that means that he can manipulate this business process, and this is a very critical business process, so it's high impact. And as we see that a lot of the systems are changing quite more often, and if you can keep track of this information, then you can also get in at the Security Operations Center information on the business impact. So it's not a security alert or an event for a particular host with this IP address. It becomes it's a host with this IP address, and it's used for this business process, and this is a very important business process for our organization. That information you can then provide to the SOC analyst, so that we can much quicker start to react, or not only on the type of attack or event that we see, but also on what is at stake here.
So it sounds like you took of all these like use cases that you came up with, and like modeling your infrastructure. And I know Mnemonic brought ACT to the table, right? Threat intelligence sharing, type of platform. So how did you like interview just different SOCs and figure out like, hey, try to figure out some of the common challenges, and then build the platform from there? Like, how'd you know where to put your focus and your efforts?
Well, I guess that's where Mnemonic and Vattenfall come in as end users, so they know the problems they have from their own operational daily jobs, But we also have a lot of contacts with other SOCs. Like I mentioned, the security benchmark we do for European telecom operators. So we talked the recent years to about 25 European telecom operators, and one of the themes in the benchmark is how do you manage your security operating centers? What kind of activities do you do there? What kind of difficulties do you encounter there? And so we have a lot of knowledge, I think, and experience on many of organizations running SOCs, and we know of the problems there. But of course, the main partners in Socrates, Vattenfall, and Mnemonic bring in the most experienced stuff in that respect. Yeah.
You know, I'm listening to you guys talk about this platform, and I did on purpose did not go too deep into it because I wanted to hear from you guys and ask these questions. But I get really excited. I hear those, and I'm like, ooh, does that mean Mnemonic gets access to these tools, and we can give these to our clients? Because is it going to be open source, or how is that going to work out in the end of the day? This whole project once it's put together.
So several of the tools and components are that we developed will be open source, and some of the components that we are already open source. There is, of course, also commercial tools. So one of the components, the infrastructure modeling tool, is based on ACT with some adapters to collect data from a vulnerability scatter like radar. So the adapter for radar will be made available, but radar itself is, of course, a commercial tool from F-Secure. But we developed also adapters for NetFlow and an adapter for Active Directory. So those will be made open source. The ACT platform itself is open source, so you can install and set up the infrastructure modeling component within your environment. The same goes for several of the attack detection capabilities. For the orchestration and integration engine, we have Activity, which is an open source workflow tool, and the Cortex framework from the Hive project, for which we actually developed all kinds of Cortex analyzers and Cortex responders to integrate with all the individual components. So for SecuriCut, we developed an ADG Cortex analyzers so that you can ask from your workflow a simple question to the Cortex analyzer, and the Cortex analyzer does all the complicated interaction with the API of SecuriCut. Now, SecuriCut is a commercial tool, so you can get a trial version of that and a license from Forseti, but it's a commercial product.
But the idea in the end is that, like Frank explained, we have some open source components, some commercial components. At the end of the project, we will write a manual which a user or a SOC can use to recreate the complete platform, which of course means that you have to buy some licenses, which means that you have to import some open source components. But the idea is that they can, if they want, can rebuild the complete platform, including all components that we now are doing, evaluating in the pilot that starts in February next year.
And that will be, even if they have to buy license, it's going to be a lot cheaper than what it would be if you had to do all this with commercial tools.
Of course, yeah.
The vendors are going to be pissed at you guys.
That's also the idea, of course, of the European Union funding projects like this, that they stimulate development and also really putting focus on exploitation of what we achieve. So our results at the end of the project, we should put very much focus on usability and reusing the stuff we develop, so that people will have a higher security in the end.
I got it.
Yeah, and the platform itself is also very flexible, so you can integrate other tools if you would like to do that. So.
Is this tool, is it going to be something like you have to be mnemonic to be able to use it, or can you be a, I don't know, a small government organization? Like where is the level you have to be on to be able to?
I think it requires some competence, ICT competence to really deploy the platform in your own environment. So I think a big SOC would be able to do that. But if you have a SOC with 2 people using some tools, then I would not recommend deploying the whole platform.
Yeah.
Maybe only modules of it. Yeah.
Yeah, because you can. Yeah.
Yeah, so the Socrates platform won't be something that is sold as a whole or so. It's a modular setup, and in a way the concept and the way of thinking about how to do more a reasoning and analysis approach of security operations is kind of and with an open infrastructure which is possible to extend. That's kind of also a selling point, but it's not the product. It's more the story, the concept, the way of thinking about what you do, and that you can do more automated reasoning on security events specific for your infrastructure. It's not generic, but it's specific for your infrastructure. We try to reason what a particular event actually would mean, and provide this information to the analyst, and provide also options for intervention with information on which option is potentially the best.
And of course,
cost-wise, in effect-wise.
And of course, we considered like exploiting the whole platform. We could also, with the consortium, build a new company which sold this platform as a whole. But having drunk a lot of beers and smoked cigars discussing this, we in the end concluded that this is not a valid option. So we took the approach Frank explained. So the modules are the most important, but we provide the opportunity for people who are interested to build a complete platform.
Good men. Even in a bar.
Yeah.
But hey, what does you mentioned at the EU Horizon, and I know that's some like big. Why don't you tell me a little about EU Horizon? Why would they want to throw money at you guys to build something like this?
Well, I think there are several reasons. One is they want to support the European business community to improve their security. So also at EU level is recognized, well, we have to do something because we are losing the battle against the cyber attackers. That's one thing. Also, of course, part of it is that we want to have some European technology developed, that we are not depending on the big companies from the US or Israel or China, or so it's European self-supporting. And I think products are one thing, but also creating knowledge within Europe. So with projects like these, they really achieve that our networks are strengthened. So we know a lot of more people. In Socrates, we also have a stakeholder group, which about 25 companies and organizations are members. So we have an advisory board. So we are really building this network. So we know each other, which is very handy for knowledge development in the future. So I think there are a few different components which make it valuable for the EU to fund projects like Socrates. Yeah,
make it our security environment a little more self-sustainable, I guess.
Yeah, self-sustainable. Exactly.
Cool.
Yeah.
As a Norwegian citizen, I like hearing that. That's great. So, like today, are you guys in like? Can I go download something right now and start playing around with it, or where are you guys at with the project?
So the project currently is in the last phase of development and testing and verifying that everything is integrated and can be deployed at mnemonic and Vattenfall. So that's what we're currently doing. In January we will start deploying all the components that have been developed in both locations. So at the premises of mnemonic and at the premises of Vattenfall.
Cool.
So then it becomes tricky, because will everything work and be integrated and deployable? Did we Dockerize everything correctly, etc.? So that's a challenging month, and then from February onwards we will start actually with the pilots, and that means that the SOC people from Mnemonic and from Vattenfall will actually start using the tools when we set up that some of these events will happen, and maybe also start detecting real things according to our inventions, and then automatically analyzing what our analysis tools like Security Cut and the Business Impact Analyzer and the COA generators will suggest, and we will see how the SOC analysts respond to this. So we set up some key performance indicators. We promised the EU that our tools will bring huge benefits. Of course, that's typical what you do in European projects. But we made actual metrics so that we can actually try and see if the benefits, if that we get faster, if the mean time to respond will be reduced, and that we detect attacks in a much faster way, etc. So we set up these metrics. We will also collect information from the SOC analysts on how they experience the tool. So we've set up some evaluations for that, and then hope that we get good results from that. But
cool. Did my sales pitch for Mnemonic just get like 10 times better? Like, or is Mnemonic going to be able to like implement these tools in our customers' environments? Like, so our SOC analysts can actually see these things in our customers' environment?
Not yet in your customer environment. Okay. That would be a bit tricky, I think. So this is a research pilot, but Mnemonic will deploy it in a real life environment. But not the customer environment.
Yeah, not in the beginning at least. But
and
that'd be cool.
Not in the beginning, but eventually this is the case. So that when you get a new customer on board, that your consultants go in, they learn about how the business operates, what the infrastructure looks like. Well, you will eventually have the scanning tools for that, and automatically model what your customer infrastructure looks like and what your business process or the business process of these customers are. And then when Mnemonic detects some strange events in the customer infrastructure, you can easily talk to the people in there, because you can relate with the business impact on what is going on with the customer infrastructure, how it affects their business, and not just say, well, you have now certain attack on this host.
And I think you can position Mnemonic even better as an innovative company by participating in Socrates. So that I think also helps. And like I said, Mnemonic is one of our main partners here. So that helps your sales pitch, hopefully.
Yeah, it really does. The sales guy in me is like, ooh, I'm gonna go call Martin Ion right after this. But hey, why don't you tell me this? But yeah, I mean, we I think is like 10% of our resources. I'm not sure if that's I'm not sure how they measured that 10%, but we do that. We have our own R&D department, and us as sales guys are not allowed to bother them or ask them for anything. I did ask him to come on a podcast, and he said yes eventually, like a year and a half later. So no, that's really cool. I'm glad that on behalf of Mnemonic, we're really appreciative for the invitation and the chance to contribute to such a cool project.
Yeah, and like I say again, we are very happy with Mnemonic as partners. So they're one of our main partners, and we're relying on them, and they're always delivering. Yeah, it's
great to hear.
Good discussions on and very knowledgeable.
Good people. So I put Siri and Martin.
Yeah,
in good hands. All right, gentlemen. Thanks again on behalf of the EU. Thank you so much for all the great work and and everything you've done. It's awesome, and we're looking forward to the result. Me as a salesperson, I'm very looking much forward to the result. So, thank you for your time, gentlemen, today, and we will speak again soon, hopefully.
Yeah,
in person.
Yeah, thank you, and good luck with your podcast. Thank you. And I'm a regular listener. Okay. So
yeah. Whew. Thank you very much.
Good guest, shitty host, but hey, that's can't have it all. All right, gentlemen.
Okay.
Ciao.
Thank you.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Bye.